There are two possible reasons that an estimate from a sample and the true value of the population parameter, for example the proportion, mean or median, might be different. The first reason is because we have taken a sample, which isn't going to be exactly the same as a population. This is called sampling error, and we'll look at this later when we look at the margins of error. The second reason is because of non-sampling errors. Non-sampling errors have the potential to cause bias in surveys or samples, as they make the sample non-representative. There are many different types of non-sampling errors, and the names used for each of them can vary. However, the names we look at this video are fairly well recognised as being acceptable. Non-sampling errors can be much larger than sampling errors, and we try and reduce them as much as possible when we design the poll or survey. It is often impossible to correct for them after the survey is completed, and virtually impossible to determine how badly they will affect the result. Good surveys will try and minimize non-sampling errors in the design of the survey. Often this is done by doing a pilot survey of a small group first. Let's look at a few different types of non-sampling errors. Selection bias is when the sampling process underrepresents or excludes some particular groups, either deliberately or inadvertently. If the excluded or underrepresented group is different with respect to survey issues, then bias will occur. For example, if the target population is adults in New Zealand and the survey is done by phoning people, they're going to miss people out as not all adults in New Zealand have a phone. Self-selection bias. Sometimes surveys allow people to select themselves to do the survey. Individuals with strong opinions about the issues in the survey, or those with substantial knowledge, will tend to be overrepresented, creating bias. This is often true with polls on the internet. Only people who are interested in a particular topic will respond to the poll. Usually this results in people with strong opinions one way or another responding, and not giving a representative sample. Behavioural considerations. Answers given by respondents do not always reflect their true beliefs, because they may feel under social pressure not to give an unpopular or socially undesirable answer. For example, in a survey about using cell phones when driving, people are less likely to be honest as they know it is illegal to use a cell phone when driving. Interviewer effects. This is similar to the behavioural considerations, but is taking into account the person who is doing the interviewing as well. Answers given by respondents may be influenced by the desire to impress their interviewer. The sex, race, religion, and manner of the interviewer can all influence how people respond to a particular question. For example, if the interviewer was a Catholic priest or the leader of a mosque, the way people respond might be quite different if the interviewer didn't have any obvious religious affiliation. Transfer of findings. This is when we take the data from one population and transfer the results onto another. This can lead to incorrect conclusions being made. For example, a survey done in Wellington may not be able to be applied to all people around New Zealand. Non-response bias. If people who refuse to answer are different with respect to survey issues from those that do respond, then bias will occur. This can also happen with people who are never contacted and people who have yet to make up their mind. Also, if the response rate, which is the proportion of a sample that takes part in a survey, is low, bias can occur because respondents may tend to consistently have views that are more extreme than those of the population in general. For example, in a survey about working hours, those that do not respond are likely to be those that work long hours as they don't have time to respond. Question effects. The wording of questions can influence survey results. Even small changes can make big differences in results. On the 18th of August in 1980, the New York Times/CBS News ran a poll and asked two questions as part of a longer survey. The first question was, do you think there should be an amendment to the Constitution prohibiting abortions? The second question they asked was, do you think there should be an amendment to the Constitution protecting the life of an unborn child? We can see that these questions are very similar and they're asking the same thing, but in a different way. The first question had 29% of people saying yes and 62% of people saying no, whereas the second question had 50% of people saying yes and only 39% of people saying no. Survey format effects. The order in which questions are asked and how the survey is conducted, in person, online, via the phone, and the number and type of options offered can influence survey results. For example, if this question was asked, to what extent do you think teenagers are affected by peer pressure when drinking alcohol? And then the next question was, name the top 5 peer pressures you think teenagers face today. it's likely the result in the second question will be skewed by the fact that the first question was asked. Long surveys are also likely to get people rushing through and not thinking carefully about their answers, or not bothering to fill in the survey at all. For achieved in this standard, you need to be able to identify the non-sampling errors. For merit and excellence, you're expected to identify and describe the non-sampling errors in context.